Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is going on? How y'all doing tonight on this Sunday evening? This is the Club of Demand 1993, and I will be honest, I am very tired. I am very tired. It's Sunday night. My Sunday energy is just crashing on me. I've only been home for a few hours, so I want to get caught up. At least tonight, I'm doing my damn best to at least get my Dynamite review caught up and my SmackDown review caught up. That way I can at least get all those live streams done with. Because if I don't do them tonight, who knows when I'll be able to get them done. Again, life is just busy, as I keep saying. I am starting to debate about doing just one stream a week now, for to talk about all wrestling. I'm not 100% sold on doing it yet, but for now, though, I am still going to do it the normal way. But I wanted to make sure, especially for this stream, I was as rested and prepared for as possible. I don't think I 100% am, because I am pretty tired. But I'm going to do this tonight. And I want to make sure, of course, that I get my point across properly. I get my thoughts out. Because this episode of Dynamite is not just a review of Dynamite. And I'm pretty sure next time we talk about Dynamite, this background is going to change. One, because I'd like a better PNG of Tony Storm with the title. And I'm not sure what to do about this over here. But this review, we're not only going to talk about Dynamite, we're also going to... I'm going to give my thoughts on the Media Scrum from All Out. And the fallout from that, the suspensions, the injuries, my thoughts and opinions on it. I will gladly... Here's my thing. This whole Media Scrum thing and what happened this week with 4 of the biggest stars in AEW right now broke my heart. As a wrestling fan, it completely broke my heart. And thank God for WWE getting better. And thank damn God for Jon Moxley. If it wasn't for those two guys, I feel like this week, if it wasn't for those two guys saving, WWE for Triple H and Jon Moxley reminding us that there are still people in this business who are here to entertain, to leave legacies, and to wrestle, and whatnot. Whether you're happy there or not, basically. If it wasn't for that, I probably would have lost my whole entire interest in wrestling this week. Because, again, what happened this week with the Media Scrum was nuts. But my thing is I want to talk about my thoughts, give my thoughts, let anything I want to let out about it, and I just want to move on from the Media Scrum. I really do. And, give my thoughts of what I think should happen to all those who are involved. Truth be told, it's more so of I'm hoping for a resolution and for these guys to be able to come back. But I'm going to give my honest to God opinion. And you can give your honest to God opinion in the live chat. What I will not tolerate, though, is if anybody is going to bash my opinion and tell me and just bash me. Because again, I am so tired of these AEW versus WWE wars. I am so tired of wrestling fans bashing other people's opinions. I'm tired of all that. I just want to give my thoughts on the fallout from this. and talk about Dynamite and move on. And hopefully get my SmackDown review in tonight also. Because, let's be real, I even thought this week content for WWE was weak. And it wasn't horrible, but it was weak. So, not really the most thrilling week for wrestling this week for sure. For the fallouts from both pay-per-views that happened. And let's be real too. I keep saying this too. I think that if they would have cut down the card a little bit, All Out would have been a great show. But again, I gotta agree. You know, if this is post All Out review, I do agree what did happen after All Out did kind of make that pay-per-view look pointless in the end, in my opinion. But again, like I said, I'm tired, but I'm willing to, you know, get all my thoughts out, as this may be my longest review of Dynamite yet to date. So let's roll into it. Again, we'll do introductions, we will talk about the Media Scrum, then we'll review Dynamite, and go from there. And again, hopefully, still be able to do SmackDown tonight. If we get both those things done, I have something fun I want to do before Raw tomorrow. So, let's roll in and start talking about all this. Again, what is going on, guys? This is the Club of Demand 1993. We are live, again, for my live review of AEW Dynamite from this week. And again, my thoughts on the Media Scrum. The September 7th, 2022 edition of Dynamite, the Fallout show from AEW All Out. And it took place in Buffalo, New York. Home of, at the time, Jericho Appreciation Society member Daniel Garcia. And again, we'll talk about my overall thoughts on Dynamite. But first, let's check the live chat. Then we're gonna roll into to the Media Scrum. Also, we got both Tyler and Mark in the live chat. Good to see you guys. Thank you for joining me. Tyler gave the show an F and called CM Punk an egomaniac. Hey Mark, again, I'm tired, but I'm here. I'm doing good. Sad today is September 11th. It indeed is 21 years ago today. Of course, were the attacks on September 11th. Unfortunately, the only memory I really have of September 11th, to be honest, I don't remember being explained like what all happened with the attacks on 9/11. What I do remember, though, was it was a day where I remember a lot of kids were going home from school early, and I got home, and I'm like, Mommy, Daddy, why did you guys not come get me early? I wanted to go home early, too. But again, I didn't quite understand what was going on. My parents just always tell me the reason why they didn't come get me early, though, was because they, the school was still going on regularly. So they thought, the best thing to do was to keep things going regularly. And I actually do agree, thought that was a good choice for them to do. But yes, definitely, we remembered those who lost their lives on the attacks of 9/11 21 years later. Tyler thinks that Jericho should win the tournament and the championship. Mark says MJF actually sucked at acting. I didn't buy that goody two-shoes babyface act for a second. And it seems CM Punk is always injured. Daniel Garcia needs to leave the Jericho Appreciation Society because with that win, he proved he doesn't need them. That is for sure. Did you hear the Young Bucks set out feelers to the WWE? What are your thoughts? I will definitely address that as well. There's people who want to leave AEW, which I do have heard too. Tyler still thinks AEW is full of their egos. Rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth as well, definitely. Everybody lost their lives on this day in 2001. And then Tyler says Bray is coming back to WWE, which, if he does, awesome. I definitely hope, though, that decision is made soon, because I definitely anticipating his rival, whether if it is to WWE or AEW, one of the two. But we will see, of course, where that goes. All right, guys. Let's take a quick drink. And take a deep breath. And let's talk about this Media Scrum. And again, like I said, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'm not going to take any offense to if you guys, absolutely despise people like the Elite and CM Punk. If you despise, Tony Khan for how he handled this, or if you guys are the opposite, if you still like CM Punk, if you still like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, if you still like, anybody who's involved in this, that's totally fine as well. All again, as I always ask, is to not bash anybody else's opinions. That's all I ask. You can leave yours, but don't, make me feel bad about mine, and no one else make anybody feel bad in the live chat about theirs. So, let's roll in and let's talk about this. So, it's very obvious that 2022, to me, probably has been, I wouldn't say it's been a bad year for AEW, because there's still been a lot of great things that's happened this year. A lot of great matches, a lot of great additions they've had, but obviously, it's a year I feel like a lot of cracks formed. And, there's a lot more flaws of AEW that got exposed. I'm going to be honest and say that I feel a lot of it started with the big, news flash of the year, besides Vince McMahon retiring, was that Cody Rhodes left AEW and went back to WWE. I definitely think that hurt, management, EVPs, and everything, even though I am starting to get a vibe that maybe Cody may have seen this coming, especially also with how the Young Bucks reacted to his WWE return at WrestleMania 38. So, again, it's been a year where, again, more things I felt were exposed, and more issues were exposed. And Cody may have really dodged a bullet, especially if he may have seen all this coming. So, we gotta kind of, go back also 8 years ago. So, 8 years ago, if you guys remember, when CM Punk left WWE, it took him February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 10 months. 10 months, I believe it was, before we have finally heard from him for the first time since leaving the company. And he did this on Colt Cabana's Art of Wrestling podcast, where he told his side of the story about why he left WWE. Apparently, Colt Cabana got a lot of heat for this podcast, and I guess it kind of affected how the wrestling industry were looking at him and whatnot. And I guess he was getting some heat for that podcast. And Colt Cabana, real life name Scott Colton, felt the best thing to do was to sue the person he had as his special guest, CM Punk. And of course, Punk is like, I'm sorry, no, it's not my fault. You gave me the platform to be able to tell my side of the story. And they had a big fight and a big fallout from it, and they were no longer friends. So, fast forward to 8 years later, 7 years later, CM Punk comes back to wrestling to AEW. And of course, briefly, Colt Cabana had been with AEW as well. I'm sorry I keep saying again. I'm just, I'm definitely exhausted. And again, I apologize. I know this is probably not the best condition for me to be doing a review, especially on this topic. But again, I'm doing the best I can with this. So, obviously, though, I don't think Colt Cabana has been seen on TV for AEW since CM Punk came in. I believe he is more so been relegated to mid-card stuff with Ring of Honor, since when Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor. And then, of course, I guess this has not sat well with several people backstage, mainly including the EVPs, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, even some people like Hangman Adam Page, and other people who, you know, have recently spoken about their heat they have towards CM Punk, not liking what he represents. And I've heard this for a while, and I'm like, what do you mean what he represents? And here's what I will say, of course, personally about CM Punk. It's no secret that, again, as much of a fan I am of Punk, there's no secret that the guy is an asshole. He does have a huge ego. But as I've said earlier this year when I did a video on ego, sometimes an ego can be a good thing. One thing that always stands out to me from his Art of Wrestling podcast is he shared that he has the mindset of you either want to be the best, or if you don't want to be the best, you shouldn't be here whatsoever. And of course, up until lately, especially of course from WWE, we had those people in AEW though. I mean, yes, there's some people who are just crazy SOBs. Well, I shouldn't say SOBs, but crazy men or women, of course, like Cody Rhodes, who has this massive ego of coming back to WWE and being the ultimate hero, wrestling a Hell in a Cell match with a torn pec. And, of course, having to show up on Raw as, like, an American hero and whatnot. Like, okay, yes, that was a little crazy. He didn't have to do that. But as I said, until recently, it's been a long time since we've seen wrestlers on live TV who come across as someone who is that determined to be the best. And, again, sometimes in this business, you have to be an asshole to succeed. You have to come across as aggressive. And you are here, you mean business. And CM Punk does mean business. CM Punk, no doubt about it, is one of the biggest names in the wrestling industry. Which, of course, is why, of course, he's a huge draw. Which is why, of course, you know, they're pushing him to get the world title. Which is why, of course, it was that important for him to be in Chicago. To have a proper story. Even though the way they went about the story for this championship match at All Out, I felt like was a little bit wonky. Especially with the booking of that match in Cleveland. I think, you know, it somewhat worked in the end, but I still feel like it was definitely a wonky risk that they went with it. Anyways, though, but like I said, I can understand why CM Punk, Phil Brooks, rubs people the wrong way, but I also understand why he is the way he is. Again, you know, he respects his fans. He does not respect people who are assholes to him. But again, he's a man who believes that I'm either the best or I'm nothing. He believes you should be here if you want to be, if you're not nothing. But if you should be here if you don't want to be the best. But of course, even so, and of course, recent news about how he has heat with Hangman Adam Page, which was why he kind of went into business for himself and called out Hangman on Dynamite recently. And of course, when they went back and they're showing the promo, they think that sets CM Punk off, and you know he got upset about. I wasn't sure what that meant at first, but now it makes sense. When Hangman said something about that, I'm protecting the wrestling business from you and whatnot. Obviously. That's him and a few other people holding a grudge against Punk because they believe that when he got brought in and Colt Cabana gets bumped off TV and goes to, and then of course eventually goes back to Ring of Honor, they're mad because they claim CM Punk, because CM Punk's there, that's why Colt Cabana got bumped like he did. My thoughts on that though is, no offense, but you should be blaming CM Punk for that. And Punk even mentioned in his rant thing that he doesn't care where Scott Colton, Colt Cabana works. He doesn't care, you know, where he eats, where he sleeps. He doesn't care what he does. He basically just said that he wants to let him be, and he wants Colt to let him be as well. So they could probably end up working in the same company, and Punk won't care. Again, this is not me sticking up for CM Punk. This is what I would interpret it, though, from all this. But obviously, it seems like it has. There's people like the Elite and other people that have not let go of the fact about this fallout from CM Punk and Colt Cabana. But again, people think that Punk is out there to ruin Colt Cabana's career, which he basically says is not the case. But anyways, though, there's been all this backstage heat from other wrestlers on Punk, and all these rumors that are spreading on the internet. And some people have said that some said that Punk's injury took place during the altercation after this Media Scrum interview. Some said it took place during the match, and him doing this was him basically saying, I got nothing to lose, I'm going to be out again anyways, so why not? Well, again, I don't know what the first question was, because as soon as the Media Scrum went live, Punk just went off. He just went off and immediately started talking about Scott Colton. He didn't say Colt Cabana, he started talking about Scott Colton, and he was swearing and just fuming, saying how there's EVPs being immature, and saying stuff that about this whole thing that isn't true. He again, Punk just went off. He went off completely and just just buried everybody. He ranted about Hangman Adam Page. He ranted about Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And he just went off in a way that it went too far. And the worst part was Tony Khan was sitting right next to him. And the few times he tried to, say something kind of take responsibility himself, CM Punk was cutting him off and basically telling him, no, this ain't your fault, this and that. And obviously it shows that Punk has a lot of anger. He has a lot of resentment, a lot of stuff he's held back for quite a long time. But this is him just being the dragon and breathing the fire here right now. And Tony Khan just sat there and didn't even stop him. I mean, he would try to, just take blame for some things or whatnot, but Punk would just cut him off. And then the thing, though, was after that, obviously how awkward it was, they tried talking about other things, asking other questions. Punk, though, kept going back to Scott Colton and basically saying, how he paid a lot of of his bills. He has every receipt, every invoice, every email. He even mentioned something about apparently how Colton shares a bank account with his mother. And again, everything that they kept saying had to go back to him. And I'm like, okay, Punk, you made your point. You made your point, I get it. But it got uncomfortable. It got very uncomfortable that, again, Tony Khan was just sitting there and letting Punk do his thing, which I think was a mistake. I really think it was a mistake for him to do that, because it's definitely left a bad image of him as a leader for a lot of people. But after Punk was done, apparently there was an altercation backstage with Punk and the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And it led to a physical fight. And Ace Steel got involved as well. CM Punk's trainer, the same one who appeared on Dynamite last week, and cut that promo trying to get Punk to realize where he's at, and what all these people want is for him to get back up and keep fighting again. Apparently, Punk took the first swing. I've heard, from what I've heard, I don't know if that's true or not. I also hear that apparently Ace Steel went after one of the Bucks with a chair, and I believe he actually bit Kenny Omega's ear also. And there was a lot of people that had to break up the fight. including Chris Jericho, who I heard did a very good job trying to play peacemaker and whatnot, trying to provide leadership. And apparently, though, Punk and Steel did not walk after this, but the three members of the Elite did. And then, of course, it was announced, again, that Punk was, in fact, injured. At first, it was a torn pec, but then it ended up being a torn tricep. But then, of course, it was later announced also that there was suspensions. I believe Punk, the Elite, all three members, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega were all suspended. Ace Steel was suspended as well, which a lot of people think Ace Steel could be just fired in general because of, how far he took it. I think Brandon Cutler has been suspended. Michael Nakazawa was suspended. I think it's like Christopher Daniels and Pat Buck were all suspended for their involvement in that backstage altercation, which was definitely the right thing to do. And of course, as a result of this also, as Tony Khan announced right before Dynamite, he didn't, of course, say any names, because actually, the four of them were actually not even in the intro for Dynamite, but Tony Khan announced that the AEW World Championship and the AEW Trios Tag Titles were vacated. So there's no interim champions. They've been vacated, which is huge. Especially, again, as I said long before the start of this, that there are four of your biggest stars. Your best tag team, the Young Bucks. Kenny Omega, who may be the best wrestler in the world today. And then there's CM Punk, who is the biggest draw you have right now for your company. As I mentioned before, too, this all breaks my heart. Again, we waited for a long time for Kenny to come back from his injury. And of course, Kenny and the Young Bucks were three people who had, obviously been there since the beginning. Again, as EVPs writing the show, they're three of the reasons why AEW existed today. And of course, as I said also, up until WWE started getting better with Triple H taking over more control and Vince McMahon finally stepping aside. As I mentioned before, the only thing up until Vince retired, the only thing that was keeping my wrestling fandom alive was AEW. And again, I did a video earlier this year talking about why I felt AEW was, in fact, the place to be. Of course, now, I'm not so sure that AEW is for sure the place to be right now. There's still good to come out of the company with how stacked the roster is. But the example that was set out by, of course, Tony Khan as a leader, I didn't feel he personally handled this situation right, especially just sitting there and not having, the courage to just stop Punk completely and taking over demand by letting Punk overpower him and letting him go way, way, way too far, as he did. And then, I'm sorry, but I also got to knock the Elite. I think, if they're really, again, it's one thing to, be, determined to, get your spot back on top, but it's also ridiculous to hold a grudge against someone for something that happened 8 years ago. And again, it was not, again, as Punk mentioned in his rant, he doesn't care where Scott Colton works. He does not care where he does not work. He doesn't care where he eats, where he sleeps. He does not care. He wants nothing to do with him, but he also wants to let him be, and he just wants Colton to let him be. So, he could have still been in AEW, Because, let's face it, there's people in all companies that, for real dislike each other. We've seen, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, Booker T and Batista. I believe Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss did not like each other. And whatnot. There was several people who did not like each other, but still worked in the same company and still worked programs. Sometimes, of course, bringing that real life heat to actual TV actually really makes great television. Such as another example, CM Punk and Triple H obviously did not really like each other at all. Which, of course, I still think as well. There's no way I feel like that even if something happens, CM Punk would leave AEW. I don't think he's going back to WWE. I get it. Again, I definitely not with Vince. I still don't think, though, that's the case either with Triple H. I don't see him going back to work with Triple H either, in my opinion. But, I get it. Punk was responding. Punk was responding to, the heat that had been rumored about him for a while. But again, I think that he just took it too far. It's one thing to respond to something, but it's also one thing to keep going back to it and showing a lot of anger and a lot of resentment and hatred and whatnot. But I also, again, think it was immature of the Young Bucks to set the example as EVPs and hold this grudge also. So I think all of them do deserve their suspensions. Again, I don't know how long the suspensions are. All I know is that, Punk's going to be gone for at least 6 to 9 months. I'm not sure how long the Elite's going to be gone for and everybody else who's involved. My thing is, though, again, because of how big of fans I am. Because, again, let's talk about this, too, also. Well, I would get back to what my point before, though, was. If the Elite want to be mad at somebody for bringing in CM Punk and for picking him as the bigger draw over Colt Cabana, the person that they should be mad at is not CM Punk. The person they need to be mad at is Tony Khan. That was Tony Khan's choice. He brought in CM Punk. He thought it was best for the fans. And yes, Colt Cabana, does have, his history on the indies and whatnot. But is he a draw like CM Punk? No, he's not a draw. Would he have been taken seriously as a world champion? No, he would have not. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. I mean, there is a lot of Colt Cabana fans out there, and if you think he deserves to be world champion, that's awesome. Good for you. If that makes you excited, awesome. Personally, though, what was best for business is bringing in CM Punk, and he wants nothing to do with Colt Cabana. So why couldn't everybody else just let that go and let it be instead of just hold a grudge against him still? And Punk even said too, I get it, you're sticking up for your friends. He doesn't hate people for being friends with Scott Colton. But again, you're not going to come after him and be immature like that and spread lies as a journalist. And of course set horrible examples like EVPs. But as far as, what I think the future should hold beyond the suspensions, I still am that big of a fan of all four of those guys that I don't think this should lead to them leaving. Now, of course, as Mark did mention, I did hear rumors earlier that apparently the Young Bucks have feelers who are just seeing if the WWE would want the Young Bucks. It would be interesting to see the Young Bucks, one of the best tag teams, and Kenny Omega go to WWE. I don't know if that will happen, though. I really think, if Tony, don't get me wrong, we are stacked with talent for sure. But, take away from all this, these are four people that Tony Khan needs. Especially with another new TV deal coming up at the end of the year. You need a big draw like CM Punk. I I don't think there's anybody else who can draw buzz and interest into a product like CM Punk can. Whether if he's, having excellent wrestling matches. Well, again, his bread and butter, of course, what causing the buzz is what he says on the microphone. It's power. I mean, yes, he's no longer the voice of the voiceless as he retired that, but he is one of the guys that could easily draw into a crowd. He's an intriguing person to express his feelings. I mean, yes, didn't do a good job of it at the Media Scrum, but he's somebody that can get somebody's attention easily. He knows how it's done. The Young Bucks have set tag team wrestling to a whole different level and whatnot. And Kenny Omega, easily, quite possibly the best wrestler in the world today, in my opinion. But I don't think they should be fired. But I definitely also don't think... I think they have to get new people in there as EVPs. Like a lot of people have said, people who seem to take a leadership after all this is Chris Jericho. Excellent choice, especially if he was playing Peacemaker. But I've always admired, how Chris Jericho chooses people to work with because he wants to make them better. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of, some people in the Jericho Appreciation Society, but I like how, I heard a story about how he started up because he wanted to keep Daniel Garcia and 2.0 together. He felt that should be a unit, should be sticking together for the time being, of course. But he's not doing things to make himself look good, but he's doing things to make others look good too. Same with, Bryan Danielson as well. He's working with guys that he wants to make better. He's working with guys that he wants to basically advertise them as the future. And of course then Jon Moxley as well. When we get to the Dynamite review shortly here, I'm going to have a lot to say about Jon Moxley. I made a video a few months ago also, earlier this year, on why I look at Jon Moxley as a hero. And the promo he cut on Dynamite this week was yet another moment where you got to call the man a hero. Because of the example, he's one of those people that, you don't expect him to set the example that he has set. Especially since 2019, in my opinion. But again, I don't think that none of these guys should be fired, but I definitely don't think the Elite should be EVPs at this time. You got to gain that trust back, that you can handle something better, that you're not going to, of course, hold an 8-year-old grudge against somebody and, just take it too far to the point where, again, lives could have been in danger. And then, of course, there is Punk, who I think should only be leaving if it's on his terms. It's sad. Again, this is a guy through a rumor, as Ace Steel said last week, through a rumor, drew a sold-out All-State Arena, wherever the arena was, at Rampage when he made his AEW debut last year. Incredible. A man that we never thought would make his way back to the wrestling business. It was a dream come true and a night that I'm never going to forget with that return. 1 year later, though, 2 championship wins, 2 immediate injuries, and now he's got himself in hot water. And, it was tough, too, because, fans were giving him great because, he has the, it's good to be here motto to him. But then, of course, when that starts wearing off, the fans still hate him. And, of course, then he's getting attacked with all this backstage drama. And, again, something that happened 8 stinking years ago. So you kind of don't blame him for being frustrated. But, again, he could have handled it better. I feel, though, again, I still think CM Punk is the biggest draw AEW has. He has to heal up. But I also think when he comes back, it may take a while for them to even want to put the world title back on him. Again, 1, because he got to earn his trust back. 2, because of his injuries. Even though, again, I'm not sure if this one, because I've heard rumors that it happened during the backstage altercation, and I've also heard rumors that it happened during the match with Moxley, and basically him just doing all this, him saying, well, screw it, I have nothing else to lose, I'm just going to let it out now or whatnot. But, again, it hurts a lot to see what all had happened. Again, it didn't have to come down to this. It didn't have to come down to, people getting hurt, people's lives on the line and whatnot. It didn't have to get this far. And like I said, it just breaks my heart because it's four of my favorite wrestlers today, for sure. And like I said before, if Triple H did not take over WWE, then I probably would have been completely turned off from wrestling this past week. But again, there's two people who I think, saved that for me. Again, one is Triple H, and the great job he's doing. He still has work to do, but he is rebuilding characters and rebuilding that roster in WWE. And then the other person, Jon Moxley. But again, there's been, AEW's had so much drama this year, so many cracks that were revealed. But it's definitely, again, here's my thing, I'll say this too. All companies are going to have a down period. It happens. But what matters most is how you handle it. And like I said, I respectfully don't think Tony Khan showed the best leadership. But, again, moments like that will happen too. That's how you become better as a leader and as a person and as a performer. So I am giving the benefit of the doubt that, with four of the names gone, again, to the point that, again, that they're not even shown in the intro or mentioned on live TV. I give a reason why I still enjoy Dynamite, though, is because it still told a thing of hey, we've lost four of our big guns currently, but there's still people here who want to represent what this company's all about. And that's why, again, I'm still, not giving up hope for AEW. But I lay out my opinions. Again, I think all these guys, I think everybody who was involved went too far with things. I definitely agree suspensions were well deserved. I don't think anybody should be fired from this. I think, though, some lessons need to be learned. Like I said, I don't think the Elite should be brought back as EVPs. I don't think Punk should be world champion when he comes back. I think that, they should be brought back. I'm hoping things, get settled. It may take, I don't want to go as far as saying it may take CM Punk and Colt Cabana to just talk things out to get the thing settled, but either way, though, I do agree. I'm going to say this, and this is not me sticking up for Punk. If Punk wants nothing to do with Colt Cabana, that is totally fine. But again, don't blame him for Colt Cabana being dropped down on the card because CM Punk got brought in. That's not Phil Brooks' fault. Again, he's letting Scott Colton live his life, and he wants Scott Colton to let him live his life. And he does not want to be defined or whatnot by a friendship that he felt that he should have ended years before it did. So again, that's between them. But like I said, I just hope when they do get a chance to come back, things will get better, and hopefully something like this won't happen again. Man, 45 minutes in, I talked a lot about that. But I got my thoughts out. We'll check the live chat really quick here. But then again, we're going to talk Dynamite. And then, it's already 10:30 here. So we're going to talk Dynamite and then briefly do SmackDown in a separate stream. But, live chat, let me see here. Tyler did 3 reviews for season 11, 1995. please don't have Bryan be champion. There are too many wrestlers like WCW was, and he doesn't think Bray should go back. He doesn't think Bray should go to AEW. Again, I do think that Bray should go back to WWE, in my opinion. I've heard rumors that he may go to another company, though, but we'll have to see, though. But again, thank you guys for letting me, just say my piece with all that. Let's get into Dynamite, and then let's wrap this up, and again, just move on. Because like I said, Dynamite I still enjoyed, and like I said, the story at the beginning basically was, yes, it was a dark week for AEW, but we gotta move on, and there are still people here who want to, represent what this company's been meant to represent for the longest time. For the time of its existence. So let's roll in and talk about it. So it opens up, of course, with Tony Khan, who was booed, actually. But then he did get some cheers after he, spoke more. But he says, after All Out, he's been forced to vacate the AEW World Championship and World Trios Championships. And new Trios champs will be crowned between the Best Friends and the Death Triangle in our opening match tonight. And how the world title will be filled with a tournament, and it will conclude at AEW Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium on the September 21st edition of Dynamite. And the bracket was revealed that this past week's show on Dynamite, it was going to be Hangman Adam Page and Bryan Danielson. Excellent match, of course, it's set up as it would be a trilogy, the third match that they've had in AEW. The first two matches, of course, were classics, of course. And then the winner of that match will take on Chris Jericho this coming week's episode of Dynamite. Then we were going to have Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara, who took on each other on Rampage this past Friday. And the winner of that match is going to take on Jon Moxley. And, of course, the winner of Chris Jericho and his opponent, and Jon Moxley and his opponent, will take on each other at the September 21st Dynamite edition at Arthur Ashe Stadium, AEW Grand Slam. So then, of course, we then go live, and MJF came out, gloating and celebrating, and he was wearing a Josh Allen Buffalo Bills jersey. Got a huge pop from the crowd. And he comes down, and he says he loves Buffalo. He talks up local sporting man before getting down to brass tacks. Last time we saw him, he may have said some offensive stuff, but we can agree that he was just kidding. He loves AEW. He never wanted to leave this place. He has to address the big, fat, smelly oaf in the room, and the world title has been vacated, and a tournament of champions will be done to crown a new one. There's one thing that they can agree on is that he knows one guy who deserves that title, which is himself, but he works smart and he doesn't work hard. So he's not doing the tournament because he's got a chip that guarantees a title shot any damn time he wants. Also, Tony Khan is paying him a boatload of money. But if you think we're in dark times, we're not. He can't think of a person more trustworthy than a wise Jewish man whose name started with an M, who split the sea and led his people to the promised land. And he's not saying Moses. He's saying he's better than Moses. And his name is Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He's better than you, and you know it. So, the first half of this promo, again, it came across with MJF as a complete babyface. Yes, he's saying stuff that obviously would generate boos from a crowd, but, with how over and how excited the fans were to see him, and, with how, much more people got behind him after that pipe bomb he cut on the fallout of Double or Nothing before he had his summer absence or whatnot. There was so much truth in that promo. fans had to react to it as if it was indeed a babyface promo. But then, of course, it got turned around because then it was more like an MJF moment. Because after that, out came Jon Moxley, who comes in the ring and tells MJF that he is absolutely full of crap. And MJF is like, do you think I'm not being sincere in front of these grotesque lard asses? He doesn't know if Jonathan Moxley's a little woozy after going to sleep on Sunday. And even like he said, go to sleep. But maybe he's got a point. Maybe he doesn't care about AEW or these people. And maybe he just looks at the world title as a bargaining chip that he can use for the bidding war of 2024. Maybe he can take it to a real company. Well, actually, I think he also dissed on Josh Allen, says how he doesn't really like the Bills, and he thinks that they suck. And I think he takes and I think he like takes it off and like starts like rubbing his butt with the shirt. It was funny, but anyways, he then goes off though and starts saying maybe he'll take the AEW World Title to a real company, take it to his friend and mentor Cody Rhodes, and maybe he can work for a real boss, the only con in wrestling worth a damn. Jolly old Saint Nick, talking about Nick Khan there, to where the crowd pops. And also, he also said, to quote his personal hero, the game, that's what's best for business. To which the crowd was like, like popping at those shots fired. But then Moxley says, now isn't the time, and MJF needs to leave the ring before he makes him leave. And again, MJF tries to take his shirt off and it gets stuck at the wrist before deciding discretion is the better part of valor. And then Moxley tells him his theme music sucks also as MJF walked out. And then Moxley cut this promo. He says he's pissed off and embarrassed and staying here without the AEW World Title, the only material possession in the world that matters to him. But the belt is just metal and leather, and you can buy one yourself. But what matters to him is what the title represents. And it represents passion for the sport, for this business, for the vision they had to show the world just what wrestling could be. To take the dark and ugly side of the business and let it die with another generation. To represent the freedom to be as great as you're willing to dare to be. To be better than you were the day before, even if just by a little. But the fact remains on Sunday, he lost and that's on him. He got pinned, that's on him. He was supposed to be on vacation tonight, but here's another chance to take another shot when the game's on the line. And it's hell of a big rock to push to the top of the hill again. Again, he was supposed to not be on the show, but because of the title being vacated, he got called back to come to the show. Chris Jericho, the greatest of all time. Bryan Danielson, a better wrestler than he'll ever be. Darby Allin, Hangman Page, Sammy Guevara, all younger and faster than him. But winners always want the ball when the game is on the line, and he wants the ball. This isn't just winning time right now. This is time to be a legend. Drops a promo and drops the mic, and Moxley gets a big pop from the crowd. I even like applauded for him as well. Again, earlier this year, I made a video saying why, to me, Jon Moxley is a hero. And let me start by saying this. Jon Moxley does not come across as, like in real life, I'm not saying he's a bad person, but he doesn't come across as the most, like, sentimental and the most, like, heartwarming person in the world, in my opinion. He comes across as very, hardcore, like hardcore, like not mean, but like hardcore and not like soft, if you know what I mean. But I still think, since he explained his side of the story of him leaving WWE in 2019, and, you know, like, the example he has set, like, you know, if you're not happy, don't stick around. Go out to where you want to do what you want and be happy. He even went back as far as saying, you know, it's like it's like the elephant and Hermie from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. If you want to go be a dentist, you go be a dentist. You know, still be grateful for, you know, what you're able to get out of the experiences. Like he always says, you know, the thing that was worth the most to him from WWE was the fact that, again, he met his wife in WWE. And, you know, they didn't need WWE though to be happy. They just needed just each other. Again, he left WWE with the AEW to play the music his own way and for him to have fun. He didn't need to be paid $10 million. As he said also, it's not about the money anymore. He just wants to have fun. But also, of course, you know, him, you know, having the courage to admit he had a problem, checking into alcohol rehab last fall, to even a promo again like this, cutting the promo, basically telling people, hey, you know, dark times happen, but there's still people who are here that want to represent what this business represents. And, you know, I'll be honest and say I don't think Moxley's the person I want to see win this tournament. As, you know, I don't mind him as champion, but I kind of just want something a little bit different. But this promo right here, again, just proved again why, in fact, Jon Moxley's a hero in wrestling. What he represents. You know, I think that, you know, there's a lot more people need to be like him. Like I said, it comes across as surprising because, again, he doesn't come across as the most sentimental guy or soft-spoken guy. But, again, he knows how to be a set example. He knows how to be a leader. Like, that's why there's rumors of, like him, Danielson, and Jericho setting the, like, you know, more so being, like, the leaders and whatnot, and people are, like, you know, praising them and whatnot. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more and think that, especially, like, those three guys, including Moxley, would be good people to, you know, be represented as, like, the leaders. Especially during a time right now where they need to be a refresh in leadership. So again, props for sure to Jon Moxley for sure for cutting that promo. That was kind of like a promo that just like we needed, like, you know, as fans to, you know, heal from, you know, the disappointment that we've received from those who were suspended and whatnot. But give us a reminder, hey, there still are people here who want to do the same things that they were doing. The examples they really wanted to set, that they failed to do so. But they don't want to fail us. Next we had the AEW, the match that was originally supposed to be just a 6-man tag, but then it turned into the match for the Trios Tag Championships, Best Friends and Death Triangle. Very great match. Very great stuff indeed, of course. Death Triangle do win and become the new World Trios Championships. They win the Trios titles. Congratulations to them for sure. They deserve it. We also have Dark Order backstage being interviewed, and Jose, the assistant, interrupts with a contract for Preston Vance and Evil Uno and John Silver. Tell him to hit the bricks. Andrade El Idolo and Rush roll up, and Andrade says he wants to speak to Vance personally and leaves him with a crutch to send us to break, of course. And so, I don't know, I guess they're having some type of feud with Andrade, Rush, and the Dark Order. Okay. We also get a recap of the interim women's title match from All Out and footage of Britt Baker trying to apologize to Jamie Hayter afterwards for costing her the match, which of course knows complete bullcrap. We know Britt Baker really isn't sorry. You know, she was going into business for herself, of course, which of course is going to cause a dissension between Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, who definitely is starting to get a lot more attention, as I can see. Toni Storm had kind of like had a solid match against Penelope Ford. It's been a while since I've seen Penelope Ford, but Toni gets the win. Good victory, of course, for the AEW Interim Women's Champion. Also get a package between 2.0 and Hook I guess they're teasing a rematch. Don't know why they're continuing this. Who knows? We then have... I love how they rolled with this, because it was also announced on the Media Scrum, I believe, that we are going to be getting a rematch at Arthur Ashe Stadium between Swerve in Our Glory and the Acclaimed, especially with how amazing that match went over. And I still cannot get over how awesome that match was at All Out, and how over the Acclaimed for sure was. I'm still definitely shocked by that. But Tony's announcing that they're going to be doing another match at AEW Grand Slam, where I think there is a good chance they may put the tag belts on the Acclaimed. But Max Caster's rap got cut off, though, with their entrance by Swerve Strickland. Who's got a joke for us? The Acclaimed as AEW Tag Champions. But then Billy Gunn cuts him off and says he doesn't know if he's listening or not, but this ain't his house no more. This is Daddy Ass's house. And Anthony Bowens adds that in 2 weeks it'll be a rematch and your uncrowned champs are taking home the gold because everyone loves the Acclaimed. And then they scissor Daddy Ass. But I like, again, also how they definitely had Swerve heel up, come across as like a heel. They didn't bring out Keith Lee. They more so had like Swerve, be more, teased with the heel turn than Keith Lee. Because that is much more, because even in the Media Scrum also, in the interview, it was established that, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, character-wise, are kind of in a different direction here. Swerve definitely has more of a heelish element to him than Keith Lee does, even though Lee was pulling out some heel tactics also in that match at All Out as well. But again, I do like how they're definitely focusing more on making Swerve the heel than Keith Lee. But I'm intrigued to see how that rematch goes at Arthur Ashe. Sorry. Then we have Chris Jericho and some of his pals being interviewed. Jericho talks up his win over Bryan Danielson at All Out. And he says he's better than ever. 400 years ago, Ponce de Leon went looking for the fountain of youth. But in 2022, Corazon de Leon found it and he's drinking it in, man. He's the best wrestler ever, the best sports entertainer ever, the BC. He's going to win the title back because that's his title, his company, and his locker room. And nobody is ever taking that away ever. And when it comes to the Jericho Appreciation Society, he's got two little brothers. And Sammy Guevara is taking on Darby Allin in the tournament on Friday. Sammy says he's going to win. And Chris adds that we don't like turtles. Before moving on to his other little brother, Daniel Garcia, who he knows is going to beat Wheeler Yuta for the ROH Pure title tonight. But because of of what he did Sunday at All Out, he's going to have to do it alone tonight. Which, of course, was hyped up for the main event of the show. Wardlow then squashed Tony Nese in a TNT title match. Afterwards, though, he got on the mic after powerbombing Mark Sterling. I think he also powerbombed. I think Josh Woods made the save on him. And then Wardlow got on the mic and says he's been hearing about how people think he's lost a lot of momentum. But Wardlow says he is a TNT champion. It's time for him to remind everyone in that locker room and in this business and all of his fans that this is Wardlow's world. It's like, you guys think I've lost momentum? Which I hear a lot of people think he has, but I don't think he has. But he's like, not the case. So we'll see, of course, where Wardlow goes next as TNT champion. We also get a promo from Darby Allin building up to his tournament match against Sammy Guevara. We also then have Hangman Adam Page versus Bryan Danielson in the first match of the championship, champions tournament, whatever you want to call it. Excellent match, like definitely the best wrestling match of the night for sure. Again, I said earlier this year they had those two world title matches, and then this match alone again was just freaking awesome as well. Bryan Danielson does get the win with a bridging O'Connor roll. He will also... Jericho did botch his promo earlier. He mentioned that he will beat Bryan Danielson when he takes on him next week. So I don't know if that was him just botching and giving it away, or somebody suggested whether that's to suggest that they may be building to a feud with him and Hangman Adam Page, who I don't think they've had a match since All Out 2019, when Jericho let Hangman to become the first ever AEW World Champion. So it could be a tease for a feud between the two of them, which would be nice. Also, respect to Hangman also for not getting involved with the Media Scrum altercation, as well as, of course, Punk did shoot on him as well. We then, of course, have a video package for Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage, where, again, we do learn that also that Christian Cage was injured also with a torn, tricep as well. He's going to have surgery and be out for 6 to 9 months as well, like Punk. So, unfortunately, the feud with Christian Cage and Jungle Boy has been put on hold. But I guess for now, we're going to be getting Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. We'll see how that goes. Then we have Stokely Hathaway and his crew, which includes All Ego Ethan Page, Austin Colton Gunn, Lee Moriarty, and W. Morrissey. Kind of promo about his ladder match victory when a crew member rolls up to tell them they're low on time, and then Hathaway demands the respect he give his father and drops the guy with a mic shot, and then the rest of the crew just beats him down, ending it with a big boot from W. Morrissey. We get a hype video for Claudio Castagnoli versus Dax Harwood for the Ring of Honor World title on Rampage this past Friday. And then the main event, Wheeler Yuta versus Daniel Garcia for the Pure Championship. Obviously, again, Daniel Garcia got a bigger pop for being from Buffalo. And they had a very, very excellent wrestling match. Again, two guys who are basically the future put on a very good match for, I guess, the mid-card title for Ring of Honor. But it was a great match. Daniel Garcia does win with the Dragon Taylor submission. So, again, he was left alone from the Jericho Appreciation Society. Garcia showed that he didn't need them. He does not need them. And, of course, who came out afterwards also to congratulate him? None other than Wheeler Yuta's mentor of the Blackpool Combat Club, Bryan Danielson. And Daniel Garcia's real-life hero. He gets to the ring, and he comes to the ring, and then Yuta shoves him aside like, I got this, and he shakes Garcia's hand out of respect. But then Danielson yanks the belt away from Garcia, puts it around his waist, and Danielson raises Garcia's hand. Of course, then Chris Jericho's out John, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And that's how the show ends. So, again, I'm really digging what they're doing with Daniel Garcia. Like, again, at first, I wasn't, but again, ever since that 2 out of 3 falls match, and it gave me more reason to care, there you go. So once again, definitely my longest review of Dynamite as I expected. I don't think I did too bad for being tired. And again, I still have my SmackDown review I want to do after this before I go to bed. But I think I got everything I said across. I also think, again, this episode of Dynamite was good in the fact of a sense of reminder that, hey, there are still people here that actually care about this business and care about making this company great. So, because of all that, I gave this episode of Dynamite a B. Still some really good stuff on the show. And again, we do have things to look forward to for sure for Arthur Ashe Stadium. And of course, based off the results of Rampage, the next AEW World Champion is either going to be Chris Jericho, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, or Sammy Guevara. Who will it be? We'll have to wait and see. So we have that championship match, and we also, of course, have the tag title match, rematch with Swerve in Our Glory and the Acclaimed, which I think I'm more believing that they're probably going to put the tag titles on the Acclaimed. So we're going to have to wait and see. Nothing else for you in the live chat. Guys, I'm going to take a few minutes of a breather, and then I am going to do my SmackDown review, and then I'm going to hit the hay and go to bed. But yes, thank you guys for joining me for this stream. Thank you for letting me get my thoughts out on the Media Scrum. Again, like I said, I'm hoping that cooler heads prevail. People, got out what they need to get out. Hoping they come back better. Both, physically and, attitude-wise as well. Like I said, I just hate to see AEW lose 4 of its biggest stars. So, I'm hoping, again, that things come back better. I hope Tony Khan learned a great lesson from this. Hope it helps him become a better leader as well. And again, we'll have to see what happens moving forward for All Elite Wrestling. Again, it's a dark time right now for the company, but we'll see how they get out of it. So guys, that's again my thoughts on the Media Scrum fallout and my thoughts on this week's episode of Dynamite. What are you guys' thoughts on this episode of Dynamite? Make sure you guys thoughts. Make sure you leave all your thoughts. Media Scrum, Dynamite, down in the comment section below. Slap a like on the video. Subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirboy93. I'll be back up here again in just a few minutes to do my quick review of SmackDown, and I'm calling it a night. So guys, have a great night. If you don't come back for SmackDown, I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Peace out, everybody. Oops, wrong button. Try this again. Stay tuned in a few minutes, guys. Peace out, buddy.